So this is another video. So in jail, there is no such thing as a free phone call. Um, they kept me in lockback, I think, for almost a month before they allowed me to get out. I traded food with inmates in order to get phone calls to the pound or to my lawyer or anything else. I never had any money on my books the whole time, which is required to make a call. Um, I would also trade my food for stamps and envelopes to send out to my lawyer, to the pound, and other places. Um, while I was in jail, I was so upset over my service animals that I would repeatedly flush my food down the toilet, and they couldn't prove that I was doing it. Um, and there were times where I had not eaten or drank for 15 days, and the only reason I did was because of another inmate threatening to tell the officer who was bunkmates with me. See, there's a reason they were service animals. I did this repeatedly on and off for 9 months, and so I would trade the food if I didn't flush it down the toilet, and I had traded food for about a week afterwards. You have to sign an animal over, pet or not, for them to be able to impound your animals or to adopt them out. I did not sign my animals over. My animals are service animals. It's a federal crime to impound a service animal. In 2016, there were several laws passed regarding ESA qualifying as a service animal. And the problem I have with Henderson County is that the authorities and the pound are not updated on this law. And I think, at least with Brad Rayfield, who continued to send me death threats towards Shadow, who was beaten by his previous owner and acted out when mommy was not there. Okay? It's a felony to kill a service animal. It's a felony to threaten to harm a service animal. It is a felony to impound a service animal. The pound cannot adopt them out until 16 days after I am out of jail and have not picked them up. The pound cannot charge me a fee to pick them up, which they tried to do. The pound was legally required to find temporary foster care until I was out of jail, and they did not do that. Now, when I got arrested, I told the police where my service animal letter was in my glove box, and they laughed at me and took the dogs anyway. So what I did was I traded food for envelopes to tell the pound that they were service animals and to stop threatening to kill my service animal because it's a crime. I proceeded to tell them the laws that presided over the animals and that they were fairly new and that I could understand if the pound didn't know about them yet, but they should look them up. They continued to send threats about adopting my dogs out and killing Shadow, and had sent me to the suicide room multiple times. I pulled out a razor and actually tried to slit my wrist, but an officer had caught me because Brad Rayfield continuously sent me death threats towards Shadow and had sent me into multiple mental breakdowns, and as well as the way the officers were treating me had contributed to that as well. So, the purpose of this video is I'm putting Brad Rayfield on blast of Henderson County Animal Services for ignoring the fact that my dogs were service animals, for refusing to speak to me after I got out of jail. And I have the documentation to prove that these were service animals. It is not my fault that you are not up to date with the law. Okay, as of now, ESA animals actually have more protections than just housing. These are newer laws within the past few years. So if you don't, anybody watching this video, if you don't know about it, start looking it up. Okay, especially if you have an ESA animal. They are considered a form of service animal regarding medical now. And that's what they were there for. They were there for medical for me. I can barely function in everyday life without them. I can hide it very well, but that's still the case. Legally, no matter how many hands they've passed through, They are stolen service animals. Also, within the state of North Carolina, the state considers animals to be property, so they're also considered stolen property. Um, so, legally, no matter how many hands they have passed through, they have to be returned to me. But because I do not have the money for a lawyer, it is okay for me to be without my service animals when it is causing me problems that they were there to prevent. And I would like to thank Freedom German Shepherd Rescue of LaGrange, North Carolina, for blocking me after I had explained the situation. You definitely don't feel any remorse for impounding, or well, you didn't impound my dogs, but you were legally required to find them wherever you put them, and you did not do that. So I can tell you are heartless people and are perfectly fine with someone going without their service animal because you feel like you are above the law and that you can judge who does or does not deserve a service animal. And you don't get to determine that. Federal law does. Sorry to burst your bubble. Not sorry. So, um, I would also like to thank the woman who ended up with either one or both of my white dogs, Jennifer Kofi of Carthage, North Carolina, who I had also messaged, and she also ignored me. And come hell or high water, I will have my dog back. Okay, do you understand that? They are legally stolen in two ways, and you prove to me that you are heartless and you don't care about anybody but yourself. You have somebody's service animal and you feel no remorse or no need to give the animal back to the rightful owner because the owner doesn't have the money for a lawyer. You are heartless. You you are an evil person. So is Brad Rayfield and anybody that works at Freedom German Shepherd Rescue. You don't get to determine who does or doesn't deserve a service animal. You're not the one that writes the documentation. Okay? So, I wanted to put that out there.